Picture this. It's the dead of night. August 19th, 1942. The English Channel is a black, churning mass under a starless sky. Thousands of soldiers, mostly young Canadians, are huddled in landing craft, their faces grim, their knuckles white. They're about to launch a massive raid on a heavily fortified French port called Dieppe. The official name is Operation Jubilee. To the men, it's a date with destiny. But what kind of destiny? On paper, the plan looked bold, almost audacious. 6,000 troops, backed by tanks, destroyers, and air power, would storm the beaches, seize the town, destroy key German facilities, gather intelligence, and then withdraw. It was supposed to be a surgical strike, a lightning raid to test German defenses, and prove that a full-scale invasion of Europe was possible. Allied commanders were desperate for a win, a way to show Stalin they were serious about opening a second front and relieving pressure on the Soviets. Dieppe was their answer. But as the first boats scraped against the pebble-strewn shore just before dawn, the plan began to unravel with terrifying speed. The element of surprise was lost almost immediately. A chance encounter with a small German convoy at sea sparked a chaotic firefight, alerting the entire coastline. As the sun began to rise, it didn't bring hope. It brought a clear, unobstructed view for the German gunners hidden in the cliffs overlooking the beaches. What followed was not a battle. It was a massacre. The main beaches, codenamed Blue and Red, became a horrifying kill zone. The tanks, which were supposed to provide crucial support, got bogged down in the deep, loose pebbles of the shoreline. Their treads spun uselessly, making them nothing more than stationary targets. The infantry, pinned down without cover, faced a relentless barrage of machine gun fire and mortar shells from impregnable German positions carved into the chalky cliffs. The noise was deafening, a constant, hellish symphony of explosions, screams, and the rattle of gunfire. Men who had just stepped off the landing craft were cut down in seconds. Those who made it to the meager cover of the seawall found themselves trapped. To advance was suicide. To retreat was impossible, as the tide had gone out, leaving a wide, open expanse of beach to cross under enemy fire. Communication broke down completely. Orders were lost in the chaos. Squads were separated, leaders were killed, and soldiers were left to fight and die alone. On the flanks, things were slightly different, but no less tragic. At Puys, to the east, the landing was delayed. The Royal Regiment of Canada ran ashore in broad daylight, straight into the sights of perfectly positioned German machine guns. Within an hour, nearly the entire regiment was wiped out. It was a slaughter. To the west, at Porville, Lord Lovett's commandos and the South Saskatchewan Regiment had some initial success. They managed to get off the beach and push inland. But without reinforcements and facing mounting German resistance, they were eventually forced into a desperate fighting withdrawal. The air battle raging overhead was just as fierce. The Royal Air Force and the Royal Canadian Air Force flew hundreds of sorties, trying to provide cover and silence the German guns. They fought bravely against the Luftwaffe, but the cost was staggering. The Allies lost over 100 aircraft, a devastating blow. By midday, the situation on the ground was hopeless. The beaches were littered with the dead and dying, the burning hulks of tanks, and the wreckage of landing craft. The order to withdraw was finally given. But getting off the beach was even harder than getting on. Under a constant rain of fire, the remaining boats tried to get close to shore to evacuate the survivors. Many were destroyed. Men swam out to the boats, some making it, others drowning in the cold, shallow waters. The Royal Navy crews showed incredible bravery, pulling wounded soldiers from the surf while their own ships were being shelled. By the time the last boat pulled away, the scale of the disaster was sickeningly clear. Of the nearly 5,000 Canadian soldiers who took part in the raid, over 900 were killed, and nearly 2,000 were taken prisoner. The casualty rate was almost 70%. It was the single bloodiest day for Canada in the entire Second World War. In the immediate aftermath, Dieppe was labeled a catastrophic failure, a tragic, costly mistake. Churchill's government faced a storm of criticism. Why were the troops sent into such an obvious death trap? Was the planning flawed? Was the intelligence faulty? The questions were painful, and the answers were complex. The Germans, for their part, trumpeted the raid as a massive victory, proof that their fortress Europe was impenetrable. But history has a way of finding lessons in tragedy. As Allied planners began the monumental task of preparing for D-Day, the real invasion of Europe, the ghosts of Dieppe were in the room for every single meeting. The catastrophic failure became the most valuable, albeit brutal, lesson of the war. What did they learn? They learned that you cannot launch a frontal assault on a heavily defended port. The D-Day landings would target wide, open beaches instead. They learned the critical importance of overwhelming naval bombardment. At Dieppe, the preliminary shelling was almost non-existent. For Normandy, the Allies would unleash the largest naval and aerial bombardment in history to soften up the defenses. They learned about the need for specialized equipment. The failure of the tanks at Dieppe led directly to the development of Hobart S. Funnies, a whole range of bizarre but brilliant armored vehicles designed to overcome beach obstacles, clear mines, and bridge gaps. They created tanks that could swim, tanks that could flail the ground to detonate mines, and tanks that could lay their own roadways. They learned the absolute necessity of flawless intelligence and communication. The breakdown at Dieppe underscored the need for better technology and more robust command and control systems for the Normandy invasion. Every single mistake made on that terrible August day was studied, analyzed, and corrected. The sacrifice of the men at Dieppe was not in vain. It was paid for in blood, but it bought knowledge that would save countless lives 2 years later. When the Allies stormed the beaches of Normandy on June 6, 1944, they came with new tactics, new technology, and a new understanding of what it took to assault Hitler's fortress. The lessons learned from the disaster at Dieppe were written into the very fabric of the D-Day plan. It is a sobering thought. The success of the longest day was built upon the ashes of Canada's darkest day. The soldiers who survived D-Day owed an unpayable debt to the men who fell at Dieppe. So, while that one night in 1942 was a tactical disaster of epic proportions, its strategic impact was profound. It was a brutal, horrifying, but necessary dress rehearsal for the final act of the war in Europe. The story of Dieppe is a powerful reminder that sometimes the path to victory is paved with failure. It is a testament to the incredible courage of those who fought there and a lesson in the grim, unforgiving calculus of war. Thank you so much for watching. The story of Dieppe is one that should never be forgotten. If you found this video meaningful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most pivotal moments. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.